county. Lord, we pray for wisdom. We pray for guidance. Lord, we pray for the ones that are sick. Lord, you know those concerns and issues there, and we just pray for healing for these. Lord, again, just guide us through this meeting tonight. We ask all these things in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge for our flag. Please stand and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of the agenda.
Let me find the agenda. Move to approve the agenda.
We need to add. Under
Second.
business.
Oh, when to add those? Okay. Let's see. I have something to add on nonprofit donation discussion. And what's
Is
the
that
other
be
one?
a new business?
Yes, that'll be new. What's the other one?
This is in the, drug
Oh,
overdose.
the Narcan.
Narcan.
Yeah, the Narcan discussion.
And that'd be under new business.
Yes. That's all additions I have.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So
Jim.
moved.
We have a second by Commissioner Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Appearance of citizens. Do we have anyone here that would like to speak for anything that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. The first is Airbnb's collections requested by the county clerk, Jeff Cole.
Thank you. I just wanted to come just for a few minutes about just kind of information. I know this was kind of brought up last month, and I was here, and I was kind of listening to it, and I know Stephanie and the mayor kind of addressed some of it. And as far as on my end, we started receiving payments from the state through these platforms off the internet, the Airbnbs and things like that. I think there's 3 of them that offer that service. And I just wanted to give kind of a quick report on that we are right about $30,000 receipted since this started in March. We're about 6 weeks behind with the state. The state drops those in through ACHs. And I've talked to some other commissioners about it through the weeks, and some of y'all here tonight. And, you know, the state is aware of some of the I won't say audit issues because the money's audited, but just as from a standpoint of being able to pick out a business to see if they're paying and stuff like that, they're working on that. But like I said, our collections are almost 30,000 receipted so far this year. That will go up. And they're trying to adjust their software where we can have more of a ability to go in and check on certain people, seeing if they paid and not have paid. So everything is positive. I know the Clerks Association, I'm president of our East Tennessee Association, and we're always in contact with the Department of Revenue on that to make sure that they hear that we won't. This is kind of the way this started 10 or 12 years ago. Y'all remember when they took over business tax? We used to have to collect that, and now the state does that for all the county clerks. And I got my numbers today, and we did over 1.1 million last year in receipts, so in business tax, and all that paid. The majority of that's paid online now, kind of like these Airbnbs and things like that. And there was some software glitches in the beginning, but as time goes on and gets better, you know, we now can go in and check accounts and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I feel like this is the right way to go. I know Stephanie's worked real hard on that. The mayor's worked hard on it as well. We're all, you know, making sure everybody's trying to be compliant and stuff like that. And that's all I wanted to give tonight, not really a report per se, but just kind of give y'all a heads up of where we're going.
Yeah, the law director sent out a bunch of laws and new stuff that were passed here recently, and there was a law that I sent him an email about that said as of 1 July that short-term vacation rentals, it sounded to me like Airbnb kind of places, are no longer required to collect hotel and motel tax. And what Jay told me, and I just bring this up because it kind of disturbed me, and I don't know if I completely agree with the answer he gave me, is that because the way it's collected now was covered by a private act that wasn't specifically removed by this new law, that the private act will stay place, and we should be able to keep collecting those taxes like we had. But statewide, they passed a law exempting those short-term vacation rentals from the tax. And so you might want to take a look at that.
I will. I've not seen
Yeah.
that, and I've not talked.
Yeah.
I talked to Jay today, but we didn't bring that up. But I'm not aware of it. Are you, Stephanie? Are you?
Well, like I said, Jay
I'm
said
not-
because
right.
the way it's done now is covered by private act, and
Right,
that private act,
right.
in fact, was not changed.
Right.
That we'll continue to get it for now,
Right.
but that at least, I thought you need to know that
Yeah,
there is a
yeah.
move in the direction of those people getting some kind of a privilege.
Right. Yeah, I'll follow up on that, and I appreciate that for the info. But yeah, I've not heard anything. But now listen, we usually find out the night before when something's changed. So I'll follow up on that with some other clerks as well.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you. Jeff, do you know if there's a business license that's held for the address that we talked about last month?
I remember the conversation, but no, I really don't know can you email that to me, and
I'll do
I
that.
can check, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that, like I said, that part's not changed. They're supposed to have a business tax license as well, and all that stuff. So, yeah, I can, just feel free to email me or text me, and I'll definitely take a look at that in the morning.
Thank you.
Any others?
Thank you,
Well,
Jeff.
If you've
Thank
got
you
any
for your time.
questions, just feel free to just let me know. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next was going to be short-term rental units requested by the law director, but he's had something unexpected come up, so he won't be here for that presentation. So, Ms. Harold, you're
I
up
think
next.
he was
Harold
going to
Ed-
talk about what I just brought up.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Harold Edwards.
Harold Edwards, not Harold Evans on your agenda. I represent the Anderson County Regional Planning Commission, and first of all, I'm thankful to Mayor Frank for giving me the opportunity to use my talents to serve Anderson County on the Planning Commission. It's something that I thoroughly enjoy. The reason I'm here tonight is the Planning Commission at the last meeting in July voted to revise the zoning ordinance. And we wanted to let the committee know what is going to be forthcoming. This process is probably going to take, I'm going to say 9 to 12 months. We'll have several workshops, and we'll probably bring the finished product to this committee, or we may have a workshop to kind of go over it so that you can make a recommendation to the full commission. You may ask, why are we revising the zoning ordinance? Well, the zoning ordinance that we're currently working with was created in 1977. We have done some patches, and we've amended it, or the county commission has amended it based on the recommendations. But I asked Vernon Davis to give me a little bit of data from the last year. We have had 14 rezoning requests to the Planning Commission in the last 12 months. That tells me that there's something wrong with the zoning ordinance. It's not meeting the needs of what the public is, and really it is not. It is outdated, and I realize that. 2 years ago, the Planning Commission did a new land use plan. It's a policy plan. We were operating on a 1982 plan. So the next logical sequence is to do the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance is the vehicle to implement your land use plan. We are a little delayed because of the pandemic. Last year, we were meeting via Zoom, and it's certainly hard to accomplish a lot through Zoom meetings. So the reason, again, that I'm here is to just inform you that we are going to begin the process of working on the zoning ordinance. There's been several things that have occurred, and what we're going to do is look forward to see what is happening. Again, short-term rentals are here to stay, and they're going to be expanded. One other thing that we're going to be looking at, I think, is agritourism and recreational tourism. Those are industries, if you will, that can generate some money, but we need to make provisions for them and make accommodations and make sure that that everything is working. Tiny houses Anybody familiar with tiny houses? That's going to be something that's probably going to be forthcoming. We need to address those. But there are several things in the zoning ordinance that just are not being addressed right now. So we're going to be working on that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Wandel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Harold, what kind of timeline by chance on this?
You know, that's hard to say. We'll have several workshops. I'm going to say 9 to 12 months is going to be a reasonable time. We'll take it piece by piece and be glad to provide any updates as we go along. But also I want to say that we have, I think, a really highly qualified planning commission right now. Of course, we've got Commissioner Isbell on there, but we've got a builder and a developer. We've got a surveyor. We've got an appraiser. We've got somebody that serves on the Anderson or the Oak Ridge City Planning Commission, and I also am on the Planning Commission. I've been a planner in a different life and have kind of resurfaced now down in Oak Ridge for a short period of time. We do have a vacancy on the Planning Commission, and I'm sure the mayor is working on trying to get that position filled, so we'd like to have a full commission there, so we can be assured of having quorums for all our meetings.
Mr. Chairman, one more question. Harold, did you say 14 zoning requests in the last
We had
12 months?
14, since August of last year, we've had 14 rezoning requests. Those have all come before the planning committee, or before the county commission. And I'll share with you what the planning commission does when we get rezoning requests. First thing I do is, or first thing that we do, I'm not gonna say I, but what we do is we look at the land use plan and see if the rezoning request is consistent with the land use plan. We look at the surrounding land use to make sure that it's consistent. Just because somebody makes a rezoning request doesn't necessarily mean the planning commission is going to approve it. But we do, I think, our due diligence in evaluating each rezoning request and making the recommendations on to county commission.
Just one more follow-up. The land reuse plan,
Land use plan?
yes. So there's a plan in place
Yes,
for all of the county?
yes.
I'd be interested in knowing what the Bull Run TVA site looks like.
Actually, it is a policy plan. It's not necessarily stating that this particular place on the map is commercial, this place is residential. It's a policy plan that guides us. Now, once we come up with our rezone, or with our new zoning resolution, we will make adjustments to the map. But we will, I'm going to say the Planning Commission will probably be involved in the Bull Run project, whatever that is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anything else from Mr. Edwards?
Well, I'm just gonna note that we made some changes in this area that will need to be in this plan. Like, we now have very, very stringent requirements for notifications of people in the area that were, I mean, it used to be, it had to be in a newspaper of general distribution somewhere nearby. And not that many people get the paper anymore. So we changed the notices where people actually get letters, or they get, you know.
Right.
And so that the neighbors are not surprised. And I would assume that this, if you're talking to Jay, then that'll all get incorporated into what, the way the county commission wants to
Yeah.
address some of that stuff.
Yes, and that's more of a policy,
Yeah.
administrative policy, that will not be addressed in the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
Or, excuse me, zoning resolution. One other thing I wanted to mention, I think we've had 4 or 5 campground site plan approval requested, and we've been working on developing site plan regulations for campgrounds, which you'll probably get an amendment in the next month or so to amend the zoning resolution to make accommodations for campgrounds.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Harrell. And I do agree that we have an excellent, the mayor's done a good job putting together a good team there. I'm just overwhelmed with how well they work together. Okay, moving on next is zoning reports requested by Commissioner Wandel.
Well, go ahead, Mayor, yeah, she'll.
And I do want to thank the Planning Commission and also for that land use update. It was 36 years in the making. But I think it took you 2 years to kind of redo that, so. Commissioner Wandel, what I did is I put packets on your desks of some things that we can make available to you. So for rezoning, for instance, is it consistent with the zoning in the surrounding area? What are the uses permitted in the new zone? So in this packet that I gave you, I put just a couple of pages there from the zoning resolution. I didn't print out the whole thing because it's 76 pages. It is posted on the county website and is always, it stays on there even with the new website update. But what we could do, and I did speak with Danny about this last week, we could modify when any rezoning comes to you. We can add additional supporting documents. Danny suggested that, we have the capability of doing a metric, so we could say, well, here's what it is now, here's what's allowed in there now, here's what would be allowed in there, and condense that for you so you don't have to go look at the zoning res and see what that is. Then the permits issued, we do maintain an Excel sheet of that, so we can start distributing all of these things monthly to you if you like. The subdivision plats approved, if you look in your packet, we can do that as well just by distributing to you both the agenda as well as the minutes. So if you look, for instance, I just put one in there from February 9th. You'll see the agenda that is set, and then you'll see the minutes. And if there are other things that you want outside of that, supporting documents, if you would like us to send that in advance of the meeting, we can do that. And then they do have the ability to do a Dropbox. Those are pretty big documents. And the Planning Commission, they utilize a method such as that to get those volume or depth of the documents. But we can do that. And then the codes enforcement, zoning violations, this would be a little more work intensive. We can get that together for you. It's going to take a while. Going forward, what we have done, and I put this in your packet to show you as an example. We went to a program called, with your authorization, to Comcate software. And what that does is every time there is a complaint for animal control, that gets entered and then assigned to an officer. And from there, once the officer responds, then they initiate the complaint form. And so that's the page, if you'll see, and I just, even though this is a public record, because I didn't want this individual to be used as an example in front of commission, I did redact the address there on that one particular case. So you'll see the software assigns it a case number, and then you'll see the location. Then there's an abatement activity. You'll see who did the inspection. You'll find the inspection note. Then you'll have what happened. So in this particular case, we impounded the animal. And then if we locate the owner, the violation or the TCA is listed there. And then there's other information, so you can go back. We actually have, for instance, whenever we get an animal or if there's an issue, the officers take pictures on their iPad. It's automatically loaded into that program. And so at any time, we can go and pull that up. And so I know that's one of the questions, for instance, that commission has. They want to know, hey, what's going on? What's the, what's the history on this with this new program? And I don't want to misspeak. I think they've probably been using this 3 weeks now for codes violations. So we're going to start having this going forward. And then we did ask the developers, could we go back and populate the program with older cases? So we are going to do that. But you'll be able to have reports that show you, such as that agency activity page, the nature. So for instance, on animal control, you see how many cases there are. You see the violations that were opened. So for instance, you see violation of leash laws, the number one. Animal bites is kind of down there on the list, livestock at large. You're going to have the same kind of ability, and we'll have the ability to do those reports for you as commission with codes enforcement. It took a little while to build that. You all did authorize that last fiscal year, and it's up and running. BZA activity, again, I put in your packet, we can send you the agenda, and that's in the last couple of pages, and then we can also send you the minutes. And I did skip over something. On the codes enforcement, what I included there is a sample from Roane County government and what they do. Our procedure here is if there is a violation, normally what happens is our folks will try to work with the owner to remediate the problem. And from there, it will go to a citation. The new program we have automatically, auto-populates what the violations are, and so it isn't something that we have to come back to the office and type up. But that's the normal process, pre-software. Once they fail to comply with these certified letters and us checking up and checking progress, the only other course of action we have at that point in time is to send over for the filing of a lawsuit. And we have an auto policy on that where it just, once we exhaust our efforts, it goes over to the law director. What we could do, and maybe this might have, would do a better job of keeping commission informed, and then also encourage folks who are in violation to maybe avoid the litigation. Roane County actually does a resolution, and then I've put that sample resolution in there, and then they put the case requests. And so there's a little more oomph to it from a, trying to get compliance without actually having to go up into court. And that's just an idea. So I included that in your packet.
Mr. Wandel.
Thank you, Mayor. That's very impressive. So going forward on codes violations, when, as a commissioner, we get a call from somebody and, John Smith they have an issue with, we could probably call the zoning and say, hey, can you give me an update? It'll be in the system. It'll show who worked on it, where it stands.
Absolutely.
Okay.
With the new program, we'll have the ability to just, we can email you that file. The older program, we can still do that for you. I would say, I think the program's going to be a little bit better because instead of, it's going to be in a system, and you're going to have, that system's going to constantly be showing you the number of days that we've been waiting for action or that it's been on the list. It will also have the ability to do historical violations. So if you've got an issue, say the same person had a stormwater violation, when you ping that address, it's going to come up. And then if you noticed on the animal control one, it also has census tracts. It has a light GIS. It has census tracts and CDBG. And so if we notice a lot of violations in a particular area and it's CDBG eligible, there might be larger issues at play there, and this gives us the data that we just have to go, bam, hit a report, and it's ready instead of us doing the survey and digging through the old files.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate all this information, and Mayor, I would like to see, I know you mentioned several times about we can get you that. I would definitely like all the information you presented on a month. I don't want to cause any more work for the organization's zoning or whatever, but I would like any information they could send. This is very helpful. So-
Sure, it is no issue at all. They're already sending it, so they can just add,
Okay.
add a full
Don't need a
distribution. Or
motion?
maybe for easy, maybe it would be easier to send it to Annette and then let her distribute if she can just forward to full commission.
Yeah, that'd be handy. Do we need a motion, or are you just going to do it?
I can just do that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Go ahead.
yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is requesting motion of approval of resolution number 2108884. And if you would like to do this, motion contingent upon the road superintendent's approval. He does have it. Sally let me know that he picked it up. We printed off the whole thing for him along with the maps. This is to construct a project designated, I'm not going to read all the initial or the letters and numbers there, but it is bridge over Bull Run Creek. And that resolution is in your packet.
So is that going to be a new bridge?
I don't know the extent of what it is. That would be a question for the road superintendent. Just the way TDOT works is they send that to the mayor's office, and then what I usually do is copy it off for him, get it in his hands, and then I present you the resolution that they
I think it's
request.
the Bull Run Creek on Clinton Highway.
It says it for State Route 9.
Yep, that's Clinton Highway. Okay.
Yeah, an 80/20, 80/20.
Yeah.
I do not know about the match.
I think it's a bridge, a new bridge, 80% paid by the state, 20 for the county.
I feel a lot better with that. I thought you were going the other way.
Yes. Well, it's a federal project and a state, so I don't know. I mean, it might be completely covered.
Might be a 100%.
I'll make
Yeah.
you need a motion, right, Mayor?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 21-08-884, accepting the proposal of Tennessee Department of Transportation to construct a project designated as a federal project, as presented by the mayor.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wandel, second by Commissioner Scott. Any discussion?
Yeah, and as I read through that, really all it really does is it puts in place an agreement such that if they should need to annex a little bit of county property, that we're not gonna have any heartache with it. I mean, that's the way I read it. And, because they don't wanna start this combined fed and state project and then have the county commission say, no, you can't annex that 10 feet and basically stop the whole project. So it all looks like a very reasonable, business-like thing to me. Thank you.
This is the bridge on 25W, on Clinton Highway, not Bull Run.
Yeah, it's on State Route 9.
Yep,
Yep, Clinton Highway.
and that's why it's federal, because it's US 25W and State Route 9.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the county mayor to enter into a payment in lieu of tax agreement with the Department of Energy. The tax rate did not change, nor did the acreage for 2021. I did confirm with Mr. Brown, and I put his email in there as well. So that amount would be $640,393.14 for 2021. And then I also put in there the Anderson County. I believe I told you all last year I would start letting you know that we received, either the entirety or partial or delayed, and we received the entire, I thought I put it in here, but I guess I didn't. We received the entire $640,000 for 2020, and we received that in March. I just can't remember the day. So we received one payment in totality.
Motion to approve let's see, resolution number 21-08-883.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Yeager, seconded by Mr. McCamey. Any discussion? Commissioner Wandel.
I would just be remiss if I didn't say I'd like to get more money, but I'll support it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
The next item on the agenda is the virtual meeting component. So I had spoken with the IT director and the clerk, Mr. Cole, and we were discussing this. They have kept the virtual licensing software active. But one of the questions is, how do we want to handle if we have special presenters or guests? And so what I did is reach out to the Office of Open Records Counsel, see what the rules were. I put that in the agenda packet there for you. There is no prohibition if the public wants to participate. If you all choose to have a virtual component, you can. And you can have virtual presenters. The only question, I just wanted to raise the idea of a policy. Do you want that to be a decision of full commission, the commission chairman, committee chair? And then also, part of that is just making sure that we meet public notice guidelines so that all people, if we're going to do a virtual component, that the public at large has access to that login information.
Yeah, the key thing is that the requirement for members of the committee or the commission have to actually be present to take part in the discussions.
Yes, sir.
Not just to vote.
Yes, sir.
Because there was a time we thought that if you were, on emergency work in California, that you could at least talk in the meeting but not vote. But his letter is pretty clear. You
Yes.
can't take part in the discussion if you're a member of the committee or if you're a member of the commission or the group that's meeting. You have to actually be physically present to speak or vote.
Yes.
And so that would just have to be included.
Mayor, one of the things, I think we kind of jumped on down, but was under the zoning reports, we had a B under permits issued, residential building permits, commercial building permits, sign permits. Do you have any numbers on those?
I do not. We do email that out. There is an Excel list that they email out because they put it in the hands of the property assessor. I know the chamber gets it, so we can put you all on the list. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, I'm sorry. I know it's
I've got
been
'em,
very,
I just-
very
yeah.
active, and to Harold's point on the rezoning requests, I think that's why we're seeing the rezoning request is somewhat resolution, but also somewhat just a lot of activity and development going on, a lot of people moving here, a lot of, I know the Register of Deeds office, his office is extremely busy, and his revenues are up, which means there's a lot of land changing hands and that kind of thing. So some of it is just things are happening in the county right now.
I'll do a follow-up on that because we did a projected one, if you remember, at the end of the last fiscal year. So if it's okay with you, I'll go ahead and do an update on that and can give it at full commission.
Sure.
On that one. And, of course, subdivision plat's approved, and we'll do that too. And the codes enforcement, zoning violations and building code violations, stop work orders. How do we look in that?
On numbers?
Yes.
I don't know. They can get that. That's the one I was sharing with Commissioner Wandel that will take a little time. I mean, going forward, it's going to be as easy as logging on, and you'll, from the time we've started that program, we'll be able to get you something in like 2 seconds. But historical violations, we're going to have to go through the files, so.
Okay. And I guess last was the BZA activity. Commissioner Wandel, do you want to talk anything about that, or it's just more of a question thing there?
I think the mayor had indicated that we'll see more reports coming from them. If we can get them before the meeting, it would be good. I'm not sure we get that now.
I don't think so. I think BZA is kind of their own entity that, they don't have to come before county commission for approval,
Well, I'm not asking for approval. I just like to see what they're going to be.
what they're doing.
Because get calls a lot, and people are upset that things happen, nobody knew about it, even though we do post it, as Commissioner Mead pointed out, but people that might not live immediately nearby feel like they don't have a chance, so. Just any information we can get on the front end, not to change anything, just to keep our residents informed.
Okay. All right. That brings us to number 4, collection request motion to approve. I think that's yours, Mayor.
Yes, did you want to do anything on the virtual meetings? Did you want to,
I think that should be addressed by commission. I would make a motion that we move that to commission to establish a policy or, you know, to modify our policy, a meeting policy, to include the fact that the virtual component can be used and what the requirements are and what the limitations are.
Okay. I have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second it. You want to send it to the Rules Committee, maybe?
That's probably an appropriate place for it to be, as a matter of fact, yeah. I would change my motion to say it should go to rules for consideration and forwarding to full commission.
I'll second.
Motion and second, discussion on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
okay, the next item on the agenda is, so you have a sample or draft resolution requesting motion to approve Resolution 2108885, requesting the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation and Tennessee Department of Health test soils on Claxton Park property leased from TVA by Anderson County government. That resolution also, if you want me to read it in its entirety, I can. Or if you want me to read the now therefore be it resolved portion, however you.
That's what I want to hear.
Okay. Okay, so the 3 action items, now therefore be it resolved by the Anderson County Board of Commissioners meeting in regular session in Clinton, Tennessee on August 16th. Of course, this is for full commission approval as well. Anderson County requests the assistance of TDEC and Tennessee Department of Health, and the Department of Health is because of the recommendation about consulting an epidemiologist to assist Anderson County in testing of soils on the park area of the TVA Bull Run Steam Plant Reservation. And point 2, Anderson County requests TDEC and Tennessee Department of Health to share any current or historical data concerning the playground area located on the TVA Bull Run Steam Plant Reservation. And then the 3rd is Anderson County requests information or data from Tennessee Valley Authority regarding the testing of soils on the playground area of the reservation. And there are some options. You could recommend, depending on your view, closure until there is testing and recommendation by those entities or not. And that's why the resolution does include the notes from the report and Dr. Vengosh about while they detected trace of while they detected traces of fly ash in the soils from different sites, it was also noted that the absolute concentrations of the toxic trace metals were below the threshold levels that define soils hazardous. Therefore, there are no apparent violations of regulations with respect to contaminant level. The other thing that I would suggest, and we don't have to put this in the resolution, would be if TDEC is willing to, and Department of Health, would be to request a work plan. Maybe we don't, hold them up, but maybe we get feedback from commission and let commission review and do individual sign off if you want to do that, or if you want it to come back. But I know, I personally, and I would think you would want to as well, see the actual work plan, what the grid's gonna look like, what they're gonna test for, and have a little bit more data and information, just to assure that it's everything that you all want. But that's just a suggestion.
Okay, we'll get a motion in a second on this, and then we'll take discussion from commissioners and then someone from the public if they want to. Commissioner Mead?
Yeah, I make a motion to move ahead on this request, then go to discussion.
Okay.
Second?
Have a motion by Commissioner Mead, second by Commissioner Wandel, in discussion. Any other commissioners want to speak? Commissioner Mead?
No, one of the things I want to say is that I think that this needs to include the most up-to-date data that's available on long-term exposure to some of these materials, okay? Because I noticed in the report, it keeps talking about, well, it doesn't meet any legal, it doesn't break any legal requirement, doesn't break a legal requirement, doesn't break, but, you know, my experience is one of two, well, I was in emergency management with the Department of Energy contractors for a long time, and one of the things we looked at all the time was if there's some kind of an event, is anything hazardous gonna get away?
Sure.
Because we flooded a building or something. But one of my concerns for it is selenium is one of the materials that they list as being one of the things they're really concerned about. Well, when I saw that, I said, you know, I gotta take a look at my vitamin pills. The daily vitamins that I get from Walmart, that I take have 70 micrograms of selenium in them. And then I looked up selenium online, and selenium is a critical nutrient that's required for humans to stay healthy. So clearly, there's a point where if the detection level gets low enough, it's no longer hazardous. It's because it's actually a required nutrient for us to be healthy. And having your selenium too low is pretty dangerous. Additionally, I just happened to come across the fact that if you eat 1 ounce of Brazil nuts, you get 544 micrograms of selenium by eating 1 ounce of Brazil nuts. And so some of these materials, I'm not doubting that selenium in enough quantity is really dangerous, but in really, really low concentrations, it ceases to be so. I mean, oxygen is absolutely required for us, but if you get into a 100% oxygen environment, it can actually kill you if you stay there too long. And so I think we need to have some up-to-date data other than just waving of hands. We need to know what are really some of these numbers. And the ones that are hazardous, we need to make sure it's handled. And the ones that are 1,000 times less than what's considered minimally hazardous, we need to not go overboard. Thank you.
Would you like me to, do we want to add that into the resolution as a 4? Or I would assume Tennessee Department of Health and TDEC would probably have that, but I can do that on my own for you all without adding it to the resolution. But whatever you want, I mean, however you want to handle that.
Commissioner Mead just made her the motion, and
Yeah,
Commissioner Wandel,
I have no problem with the mayor, we kind of brought it up now and it's a public issue. I just think that if we get back a report that all it talks about is this is a hazardous material, this is a hazardous
Right,
material, this is a
okay.
hazardous material, and this is how many micrograms we found per cubic centimeter. Well, if we don't know how that relates to a hazardous level, because if it ends up being thousands of times below what is considered the minimum hazardous level. And then we need not to get too incredibly upset, because most of these materials, you could take a soil sample anywhere in the world, and with the equipment we have now, you can detect a little bit of these minerals almost everywhere.
you okay with that, Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Any other comments from the body?
Yeah.
Commissioner Wandel?
Mayor, I appreciate you putting this together, and I'm hopeful that we can get some kind of timeline, maybe from TDEC, once it goes out, and the test and the work plan. I definitely would like to see. Obviously, we're responding to a recent study that was done at the park, apparently, and trying to understand what that means. Like Commissioner Mead, and I've heard it's low levels, but it doesn't mean it's not an issue. I understand that, and I think that's why you're taking action, and I appreciate it. Have you had any legal advice, consulted with the state? Or I know Mr. Yeager's out tonight, our law director, but what kind of direction and feedback have you been able to attain from the state on this issue, or even TVA?
I did when the report, I guess I received the report from Commissioner Denenberg initially, and so I reached out, I sent it to the state, I also sent it to TVA. When I read, the report that Commissioner Denenberg sent, underlined, highlighted, made notes. My takeaway was that there were, in terms of Anderson County government, his plain language stated that there were no violations and health guideline exceedances. So to me, that's the first step in how quickly do we need to sound the alarm. And so I did work with the law director to get additional information about the exact testing locations, to confirm that these tests did take place on the Anderson County proper section. I did request information on the lease. The law director did send that. Dr. Vengosh was not willing to disclose the specific location of the testing. He said that that could only be done with the permission of the participant. And I did check with the law director. Anderson County did not sign on as a participant. And so we don't know who the participant is. So we could not have exact details on, if we share that, for instance, with TDEC, we're not going to be able to do, what do they call that? I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, but where we're testing in exactly the same location to kind of verify or see if that testing lines up. There is a reporter who said that she was on site and could confirm that it was on the Claxton playground. And so that's why this resolution, we're taking that as it did occur on our playground. And so that's why you have this action item in front of you to do that. The law director did review the resolution, and this is taking a next step, verifying, even though there's no violations noted, Dr. Vengosh is saying that there are nanoparticles, and he was unwilling to say there could be no risk. So I think, Anderson County is wise in taking the next step. Commission would be wise to take the next step just to verify with TDEC and Department of Health and get more information.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I talked to my counterpart, Commissioner Fritz, last night. He's out of town. He wished he could have been here, but he expressed to me his interest to the committee and to the mayor that he's in favor of the park staying open right now, based on the low levels that do not exceed the state guidelines. I'm in agreement with him. This plant was opened in 1962. Been there for 59 years. We have coal ash all around Claxton and many other areas. Saying that doesn't mean we approve of coal ash being in the kids' park or in the ball fields or any of that. It's a fact of life. And I appreciate what you're doing, and I want to see some more test results. Obviously, if there's anything hazardous for anyone, no matter what age they are, we should take action, and I believe we will. But as it's presented at this point, every day, just about in the summer here in East Tennessee, is a bad air day, and in that air is a lot of particles, and so again, it doesn't make it right. But we made a request in the Intergovernmental Relations Committee earlier before this meeting that we asked TVA to consider immediately opening up a new park at the new Henderson property they had set aside for landfill, moving the ash. And we'd like to have TVA consider building a new park there, building a new playground there, building a new community center there, if you will. And we'd even like to see consideration for a new fire hall. Claxton's in desperate need of that, and I know our EMS units could probably use one as well there. So that's going to be our request to TVA. I think from my perspective, the quick fix is on TVA's side. I mean, we got several 150 plus acres sitting there. It's been sitting there for some time. It's not even permitted now to take the ash. So I think it would be nice if TVA could step up and help our community out, help our county out, and make a move sooner than later. And, you know, I know it always takes time to do things, but hopefully that's going to be the answer. With all that said, you know, our community doesn't have a whole lot. And a lot of people use the parks, a lot of people use the ball fields, a lot of people use the community center across the county. So we want to see that continue until we're told health risk-wise, this is not a good idea. So that's where I stand with it, and so I'd like to see that happen, and maybe we make another motion after this one to entertain the Intergovernmental Relations Committee motion.
Okay. Any other discussion from commissioners? Just a minute.
I think you already been told that it's a danger to children by Dr. Van Gogh, who's one of the leading experts in the world.
Could you come forward, please? And come forward and state your name and address, please.
My name is Julie Bledsoe. I'm from Powell, Tennessee, 4713 Macmont Circle. I came here because I live in Powell. My husband was one of the Kingston coal ash workers. He's never smoked a cigarette a day in his life. He's lived a healthy life, and he now has COPD and other health conditions because of coal ash. Now, I came here a couple of years ago to warn my neighbors in Anderson County that you cannot trust TBA and you cannot trust TDAC. I trusted them. I was proud my husband was working there. I'm gonna take this off. I can't hardly breathe. But this past Saturday, I drove to the playground in question, and I saw black streaks coming down the plastic on top of the little castle. I looked at the slide, and I saw black all over the top of the slide. TVA's not even cleaning the equipment. They don't care. They don't care. They had a whole workforce of men down there cleaning up their mistake. My father's a civil engineer. He had worked with TVA back years ago. That coal ash pond that ruptured down there at one time didn't even have a permit on it. That's how close the state of Tennessee kept an eye on them. I read up on the Department of Health. You know how they test and where they get their results? From TDAC. Department of Health doesn't test anything. They take their test results from TVA and TDAC. They have parties together. They give out TV sets to each other. They switch jobs. Some people work for TDAC, they go over to TVA. We don't have fugitive dust laws in the state of Tennessee. All states aren't that way. When that dust blows onto that playground across that fence, it's no longer TVA's problem. Now, I listened to what you said, and I trust you, and you're a smart man, and you're a kind man, I'm sure. But, you know, breathing something or taking a vitamin and then bringing it into your lungs is a total different scenario. I don't know if selenium is safe to breathe. Do you? We may be able to take it in a vitamin. Is iron safe to breathe? We take iron as a supplement. We drink water every day. Is water safe to breathe? We're not scientists here, but Van Gogh is. And he came here and he warned you. I've been here and I've warned you. And my friend sitting right back there, she's been here and warned you, and her husband was here, who's now deceased. Now, we won the first part of our lawsuit. A lot of people don't realize that, but we won on every single count. Those men and women on that job were not protected. You must protect your children. Now, Van Gogh said, just because the levels are low does not mean there's no risk. And everybody's different. You can take a family. Everybody in that household can be from the same two parents and be exposed to things, and one will get sick, or maybe they'll all get sick. We don't know who's going to get sick. I don't think it's worth taking the chance on precious little children. Now, we let TVA push us around, and we trusted them, and that's why we're here, not to come in and cause you any trouble or cause you any pain. But there's plenty of parks. We've got parks in Powell. We've got parks at North Lake. We've got parks everywhere. They can go to Dollywood. TVA's been selling power to 5 states. They could give every kid in Claxton a Dollywood pass. They wouldn't blink an eye. So I pray and I beg you to close that playground and protect your children. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Bledsoe.
My name's Jason Williams. I'm a former coal ash worker, Claxton resident. Mr. Mead, I'm gonna comment on something about your vitamin comment. If I got a headache,
Please address the chairman, please.
I'm sorry.
Just address the chairman.
You can talk.
Okay, I wanna, if I got a headache, I'm gonna take 2 Tylenol. If I take a handful, it's gonna tear my liver up. Okay, so that's kind of a bad, because coal ash has no standard level. It's all the stuff that's in the coal ash that's dangerous. If I'm allowed, I would like to show you all a picture, but I don't want everybody else to see the picture, okay? Because it's a very private picture of my grandson that lives about backside of that. May I approach?
Sure, ma'am. Yes.
I don't think there's an issue with him showing us something that isn't presented to the public.
No, I don't think so. Go ahead.
There's a lot of strange rules about if something's brought up at a meeting.
This is my grandson at birth.
Okay.
Okay. You see the picture? He has a defective heart with a pacemaker. He got put in at birth, he's 3 years old. He goes this month to have it replaced. Now, I said coal ash caused that? Not sure, but nobody else can tell me coal ash didn't cause it. Okay, I have 3 other grandchildren that, I have 5 total grandchildren. 2 of them are healthy. 3 of them are sick. 1 of them died of a disease called trisomy 13, which radiation affects your organs. It attacks your organs. Josiah was born with his organs outside of his body. Okay, now 2 of my grandchildren lived by Bull Run. Okay, they don't live there no longer. My other 2 grandchildren that were sick, I'm always around my grandchildren or my daughter-in-laws or whatever. I carried that stuff in my house, thinking it was safe. Of course, I grabbed the kids, whatever, played with them. One of my grandsons has a kidney problem. Okay, this little grandson here has got a lot of problems. Do I think it's caused of coal ash? I'm hoping it's not, but something tells me it is with all the research. You say it don't make kids sick. 1957 was one of the first cases that's made children sick. 1957, out of Kingston. Okay, the ballparks, they closed the ballpark next door to the park. Why would they close the ballparks down, not the park? I can throw a rock from that park and hit coal ash. Okay, they don't have no dirt over it. That may, the levels on there may, it may be nothing. But that big pile right there beside it, when the wind blows, it covers them up. That's a problem. I'm all for kids playing at the park and having a good time. But when them kids get sick, they're sick. I've been sick for 9 years now. But them kids can't handle that. They don't need to be sick like that. How many people has died with cancer in that area? How many kids have been sick nobody's thought about? What caused? Oh, that's just a fluke. They inherited that. That's whatever. It's not. Just do your research. It's been going since 1957, and nobody's done nothing about it. And my other thing, we're going to do all this testing on these parks. What about the new park that they're building in South Clinton that's got coal ash in the bottom of it? Why can we not test that at the same time and see what's all in that? I know it's all been tested. I've seen people there at 12 o'clock at night dressed out in Tyvek suits digging holes when they first started building that. And I probably still got a couple pictures of it somewhere. But that coal come from there in 94 and 95 from Bull Run and was dumped there. Now, whether somebody knew it was dangerous then, the owner of the property, I don't know. But it needs to be tested. They're spending millions of dollars on that place right there, and it's going, it could be the same problem. I get fed up because I've been here about every meeting. And, you know, I fished in Bull Run Creek, took my grandson to Bull Run Creek because it was told it was safe by TDEC in this same room. Then the last meeting we had, guess what? It's contaminated. So, you know, it's not even posted. There's people there fishing today. When you talk about building a new bridge there, and you go digging that up, then guess what? You're going to dig it up in contaminated soil. So you need to think about that. There's a way to fix that. There's a way to fix that Bull Run to keep that ash down. And it's just got to be done. They're going to have to spend some money. And we're going to have somebody on our side that's not going to lie to us, steal from us. You know, we need the truth. We need the truth for once in the last 10 years. Somebody tell us the damn truth. That's all we want. You know, if it's going to kill us, tell us it's going to kill us. If it ain't, it ain't. But we want to know the truth. You know, test the right stuff, get it away from our kids, get it out of our drinking water, and do the right thing. If each and every one of y'all live, with what y'all hear from the last 10 years, would any of y'all live next to Bull Run with kids? With kids. There's not a soul in this room that would have seen that picture right there, would have lived in this area. My kids don't live in this area no more. They live far from it, and they're better. You know, my other granddaughter, her immune system is so low, but since she's got out of here, it's better. All my other grandkids, they got away from me, and I got away from that ash, and they got better. So, I mean, I know it's something to do with that. I have my ex-wife, you know, when she was with me, she had skin problems like I did. Okay, we've been separated now for 9 years. She's healed up, but guess what? My girlfriend has it. So you tell me, there's something going on. It's just somebody just needs to test it and tell the truth to somebody. We're tired of lies, period. Period. I mean, they know what it is. You know, help us find out the truth. Y'all have the power to find out the truth. If y'all don't do it, we've tried for 10 years. We're not getting anywhere because TV has more money than we have. You know, they can fatten TVA's pocket, get them a new TV or whatever they want to do, a new car. They can do whatever they want to do. We can't compete with that. I'm not going to buy them a TV anyways to tell a lie. Don't tell a lie that you shouldn't lie. If you messed up, take care of it. And that's, you know, take care of our children, because that's all we got left here. But that park needs to be closed down, and this other park that they're building needs to be checked into just as much as that one, because there's coal ash all under there. You can put 4 foot of dirt under it, but guess what? There's still coal ash under it. You know what I mean? You can have arsenic in glass that much, rat poison in liquid that much. And then you pour water on top of it, would you drink it? If there was arsenic that much in there, would anybody drink that arsenic, that glass with arsenic in it? No. Okay, so it doesn't matter how much is over it, it's still under it. You see what I mean? You can't hide it forever. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Let's come forward, please.
I'm Jane Clark. I thank you for letting me speak. I would just like to say you are our elected officials, and people depend upon you to look after them. They don't have anybody else. TVA has shown blatant disrespect for this community. The fact that TDEC is going to wait, you won't hear a thing about the water testing to 2023, right, but the time they're going to move, and you're not going to be able to do a thing about it once they're going to pack up and leave you all with 2 unlined pits. I know that doesn't have anything to do, but these are children. And I want to tell you, my husband and I have come down here after he was diagnosed with an incurable disease, heart disease. We didn't want to see this happen to anybody else. We know what does. And I couldn't live with myself if I didn't come. He was told daily at Kingston, as a first responder, you could eat that and drink it. You could drink a glass of it a day. You could eat a pound of it a day. There's 51 people dead and I wonder how many people, it's never been asked, how many around this area have ever been tested for cancers? I mean, the ash on a playground, they've done the same thing at Roane County. They put a soccer field, they covered that ash with grass and make it look nice. And I passed that playground, I'd never seen it before. My son showed me, he said, Mom, that's that playground. I thought, my God, it's it's right off next to the pits almost. That ash blows, and I want to show you TVA. This was on the TVA news. And here's what you all need to think about. You are the representatives of this community. These people don't have anybody. You, TVA partners with the Urban League to give 1,200 area children school shoes and school supplies. They always want to look like the big good neighbors. And there they are, all smiles and giving out backpacks and shoes. And they've got a playground, dirty playground with ash. And I beg you all to think about, if you leave that open, then I think at least you should put a sign up and tell people ash is in it. I can't believe it was not a sign anyway, that it's that close to a coal ash pit. So I'm just really passionate about this. Please, I beg you, think about what you're doing, what you're letting TVA do. They have blank check. They can write a check legally. Trying to defeat them with the legal system is a joke. TDEC is paid, you found that out. TVA pays TDEC. So how are you going to get an honest answer if they come and test till Jesus comes back? You think you're ever going to get an honest answer truthfully? These people are the citizens you represent. Get somebody else to test it. Get honest testing. I'm sorry, but I just had to say that. I couldn't sit and listen to that. They do lie. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carr.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, there seems to be some confusion about the data we're using right now. The data we're using right now, this commission privately contracted an out-of-state university team to come and do all of these measurements in these areas. This was not done by TVA or any of those folks or by TDAC. This was done by an independent team hired by this commission to come and take all this data. Okay, and the results of their report is that they found no levels anywhere that exceeded any state or federal standard. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily means we're home free. I also have no doubt that there were employees exposed to dust levels and stuff that they should not have been. I worked around the nuclear industry, and trust me, I know we had a lot of people exposed to things too that shouldn't have been. But the data we're using right now is an independently hired team from out-of-state university that came and took this data to supply to us. So that's how we're kind of getting this rolling. We're not depending upon TVA or TDEC data. Thank you.
Jamie Satterfield with the Knoxville News Sentinel. Since I was involved in that study, I'd like to address some factual things. One is that there is no safety guideline for the amount of coal ash that you can breathe, drink, or in any way have exposure to. There is no standard. What there is a standard for, and what Dr. Van Garsch is telling you, is that for each ingredient, there is a standard. And so for each ingredient, it may well not be at a level that's considered unsafe. Many of the constituents of coal ash aren't regulated, so there are no standards. So that's the first thing you need to understand. There are no standards. This is brand new. This county really is going to be the county that leads the state in coal ash in terms of what we do, because the EPA doesn't have a standard.
That's true.
So the way I like to explain it when I'm talking to groups is you take a bowl, put a little arsenic in it, put a little selenium in it, put a little radium, a little uranium, and you just keep adding deadly substances on top of each other. And what you have is a brand new bowl of shit that's dangerous. You don't have little pockets of arsenic and get a little sample of this one. These are all mixed together. And because for so long this country has not regulated coal ash, we don't have any health standards. So my fear, what keeps me up at night, is that in Kingston, and I'm probably going to get fired, but I'm just going. What happened at Kingston was that workers were exposed 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, many of them for years, some for months. And they were exposed to coal ash dust every day. And so their bodies are proof of what it does. It would be great if coal ash caused one cancer, and we could say everybody with thyroid cancer who's worked around or lived around coal ash is responsible for it. That's why this stuff is so dangerous. Jason has lost hair on his legs. He's got all kinds of skin ailments. That's from the radiation. Now, coal ash is not like it's glowing. It emits levels. So when you are standing near it, it's not frying you. It's about, they tell me, the equivalent of getting 4 x-rays a day. Now, I want you to think about him. But the real problem is when you breathe it in, because then this radiation is in the body. And it just depends. If you're lucky, and maybe it only hits your kidney, or maybe you're lucky and it just causes skin cancer, or maybe you're like Doug Bledsoe and it causes brain cancer and you die, or maybe you're like Ansel Clark and it causes 4 different rare conditions that just don't happen and die. I didn't start this coal ash investigation to do anything but find out what the hell is this stuff. I've never heard of it. I live in Sevier County. Never heard of coal ash. I can't sleep at night knowing. Do you know how many times I've been over at that park and just prayed and just prayed? You see those black marks she's talking about on that? Those are cut into it. It's not dirt. It's not a stain. It's what coal ash does. It eats paint. It corrodes washing machines. It takes the paint off your houses. That's why TVA used to give you a car wash. And sometimes they'd repaint your house. Because they knew. They knew. And they still know today. They didn't fight me at all on the ball field. Can you believe that they built a ball field out of radioactive material? If I was the manager of McDonald's, and I went and threw hot oil all over the fry cooks, I am guessing I'm going to be arrested. But TVA can build a ball field out of radioactive material and tell no one. And here's what happens, and this happens a lot in Claxton, because I've seen it happen to Jason and other people. People go, well, you're just fat. You don't eat right. If you're not healthy, it's your fault. It's not TVA's fault. It's not that plant's fault. Oh, really? Oh, really? Well, I tell you, I'm pretty healthy because I don't breathe in radioactive material. The people in Claxton, they're not only suffering unaware. Y'all could at least give them the information so they could go to their doctors and get a blood test. Because a blood test will show each one of you and anybody that takes it if you've got elevated levels of these constituents of coal ash. And that way a doctor can start giving you appropriate diagnosis and treatment, something these workers never got. Y'all can save lives. I don't care if you close the playground down. I don't live here. But these people care. And a lot of people just don't know. I go over to that playground and I said to this lady and her two cute little kids, she was sweet as could be. Her daddy worked at Bull Run his whole life. Of course, he died early. And she said he always thought it was the coal ash. And I said, honey, I'm not supposed to do this, but you don't need to be bringing your kids here anymore. And I told her about the coal ash. She brought her kids there every day. She's a good mama. And when I gave her the right information, she quit bringing her kids there. I'm sorry. I hope y'all understand. I'm not mad. I don't get extra pay for any of this. And I don't want any credit. I want people to see God, not me. But you all can protect children starting today. And you can hold TVA accountable. Hell yes, they ought to build all this stuff. Now, I may need a donation or two because I'm going to get fired for doing this, but I had to. God required it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Satterfield. Anyone else? Commissioner Scott?
I did want to correct something. No offense, Commissioner Meade, but Anderson County did not commission that study. We do not know who commissioned that study. So while it did come to
We
Anderson,
voted on it in commission.
you voted to authorize some funding and then the issuance of a RFP
Yeah.
to get qualified individuals. I believe Mr. Yeager distributed a contract, but Dr. Van Gosh would not sign that contract.
That's correct.
So we do not know who actually tested. We don't have, we don't know who authorized the test. So this was a press release, and then the study, we do not have, it would be nice.
So we don't know who paid for the collection,
No,
No.
even though we authorized the funding of it, they didn't take it.
correct,
Okay, that's news to me.
yes. And then just also, I do want to make sure, because there are no doubt a lot of people watching at home, I want to make sure that folks understand that our law director did follow up with Dr. Van Gosh on precisely those risks. So if you'll allow me, I would like to share that, since I'm sure a lot of people are going to be paying attention. So Dr. Van Gosh says, I have no expertise or capacity for addressing the important questions you have raised, and this is in response to, do we need an immediate closure? Do you believe the findings necessitate governmental health warnings for the Claxon community concerning air exposure? He sent some follow-up questions, and Dr. Van Gosh said, I'm an environmental scientist, and our mission was to see if we can find fly ash in soils near Bull Run coal plant. Indeed, in our study, we were able to detect traces of fly ash in soils from different sites downwind from Bull Run plant, yet the absolute concentrations of the toxic trace metals we found in the soil were below the threshold levels that define soil as hazardous. Therefore, there are no apparent violations of the regulations with respect to contaminant level. Nonetheless, in our study and in press release, we express concerns that finding traces of fly ash on soils could pose potential health risks upon long-term exposure through inhalation of nano-flash particles in the dust. And this is where the advice and consult comes in. In order to determine actual risks, one would need to consult with an epidemiologist who might be able to translate findings of our study to actual risks and whether closure of the park is needed. As stated, my team and myself do not have this type of expertise. We would not be able to advise you on that matter. I would suggest that the next step in evaluation would require a much larger investigation that would include larger sampling sites and conducting sampling over time, combined with parallel health studies of the local population to establish a link, if exists, between the occurrence of fly ash on surface soils and health in your community. And, you know, again, just Anderson County, and I think, you know, what I've heard from the commissioners tonight, that's what we're doing by contacting Department of Health. And we're taking the next step, and we can ask these questions. But admittedly, Dr. Vengosh is saying there are no violations, there are no exceedances. But we're doing something anyway, which was following up on his next step, which is consult, do broader testing. And again, I want to note, because it's important, we don't have access to the information about the details of his testing. And if he wanted to be a partner with Anderson County, he could do that.
He published all 4 tests in a medical journal, a scientific journal. You can get those tests. They're all 4 published.
He did write, and Mr. Yeager wrote him and said, can you please provide the exact sampling locations utilized in your study? This information would help immensely. And he sent a map, but it does not, it just has a large dot that's not interactive, so you couldn't get the confirmation. And so then he said, without a consent from each of the participants, we are not able to provide addresses. We are committed to protecting their identity, and therefore we never reveal the exact location of the sample sites to a third party. So we are considered a third party in this testing, and that's why I shared that. But I think, you know, whatever you need me to do, I'm here to serve Anderson County and the citizens, and, you know, I do think we owe it to them to take that next step.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. Mayor, from the time that testing is done to the time, from the time the testing is begun to the time you've received the results, about how long is that?
Oh, from TDEC? If you all approve this tonight, I don't, you know, I forwarded this to them, you know, immediately, just to act and make sure that they saw it and were aware of, if it had not come across their desk. I have not communicated with them about this without your all's authorization. If you want to do that tonight, I think you know, even with operations approval, I can go ahead and reach out and have some information for you by Monday.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
The reason why I'm asking is, it would really make sense to go ahead and shut the playground down during the period of testing until we receive some sort of results. It's an area that the children go to for Halloween, for the trunk or treat. So, I mean, here it is August, and at least we're being proactive rather than a knee-jerk reaction. So I would appreciate that information for Monday.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Anything else for the mayor?
Just one more thing. So Mayor, it's my interpretation that you feel there's no health risk as it stands, based on the information that's been provided to us, with the unknowns of where the tests were actually taken at the park, or is that?
Well, I'm just citing the plain language of his results says that. And so when I forwarded it to TDEC, I said, you know, quoting the plain language, he says there are no violations, but would you would you all take a look at it? I would be interested to see what you think about this. So I'm sure we're going to get a response from them on that. But yes, sir, I mean, that's exactly what Dr. Vengosh says. That's what was said in the follow-up email. The other thing is, if you look at the abstract of, I mean, Dr. Vengosh, the abstract of both the press release, not the press release, the study, and then if you also look at the press release, Dr. Vengosh is highlighting this new technology, and he has a recommendation. I did not bring my underlined version. If you'll give me just 1 second. If you go to, for instance, on page 2 of the study itself, he says, in this study, we aim to explore the utility of multiple geochemical methods, including trace elements, radium isotopes, and I'm sorry, PB isotopes. I can't remember what that is.
PB is lead.
Yet stable isotopes as indicators for the presence of trace levels of coal ash particles in soils near coal-fired power plants and coal ash disposal sites. We evaluate the sensitivity of these methods by integrating observation and quantification of fly ash particles in soils using point counting under polarized light microscope, PLM. While some of these methods have been used individually here, we present the first integration of and so this is like a new field of study, and Ms. Satterfield pointed that out as well. We're presenting a new, the first integration of geochemical methods for the purpose of tracking even trace levels of coal ash contamination in the environment. By integrating multiple geochemical tools and microscopic physical observation to investigate surface soil samples collected from areas adjacent to coal-fired power plants in North Carolina and Tennessee, we demonstrate both their applicability and limitations for detection of trace levels of coal ash presence in the environment. So, and then if you go, and I'm not going to, this is in agenda packets, it's online, any citizen that wants it. If you look at some of the back and forth, and I can make all of that available, as we're looking, you know, what do we need to do? We have a duty, a role as government. This study is heavy on highlighting a new process. And he's very clear about saying that there are no violations, but it is a good way. It's a new technology. It's a new way of testing. He talks about hypothetical combinations and mixing them, and he's mixing them based on certain premises, and he's saying it's a good way to detect that fly ash presence. But he is not going on record saying that there are health issues or violations. But in that email, he does recommend reach out. It may warrant studies over time, and I think that's why Commissioner Mead was saying, let's get the most up-to-date, current, what exposure is, and that's a wise recommendation, and we're doing all of that, but no, sir, he did not say there is any violation.
Let me ask you another question, if you don't mind, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Sure.
But you are the mayor, and you lead us well, so I want to ask you, do you believe we should shut the park down?
He has indicated no safety violations. There isn't anything there I see. If you would like me to get more information for Monday on how quickly it could be done, and just for people in the community, if you wanted to say, better safe than sorry, we hear you, we'll shut it down until we get a response and get TDEC in and do a grid. I think that would be
Well,
it would be a gesture, but from a legal point of view, there is nothing warranting it in what we've been told. So I think that would be the break there, if that makes sense.
I got a question.
you know, it's, only in America could we do this. I mean, we have people out there that get very upset because there's coal ash present. I understand that. As I've said before, it's reality. I mean, it's been that way for some time.
It has.
Do I think TVA is better than they were before? Yes. Do I think they can improve? Yes. Can TVA fix the problem tomorrow morning? Sure they could. They'd have to meet with the board first and get all the decision makers together and make a decision, but that would be up to them. I'll say again, I'm opposed to closing the park down based on fugitive dust, coal ash, apparently in the samples, for the people I represent. I've not had one call, one email, one text from anybody in District 1 telling me to shut the park down. And I'm sorry, the way I operate since I've been here in 2006, and maybe this will be my last rodeo, that'll be up to the people. But I always go on what the people request. I represent the people, the majority of the people. If the majority of the people call me this weekend and say, we want the park shut down, I'll come to the meeting Monday and say, 58 people want the park shut down out of the 10,000 in the district, whatever. I mean, but I just don't think we should shut the park down based on a report that was done by some third-party entity that doesn't want to share information other than publish it in a medical study, which is fine. Who in here didn't know coal ash was hazardous before the study was done? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. When you go, and look, I don't want to sit here and argue with people about silica. You go to the beach, it's silica. You eat a banana, there's uranium. Yeah, and I also know it because I've lived there since 1979.
Hold on a second.
And I'm not a doctor, and I've worked in coal ash for 20 years plus. Breathed it, ate it, had it in my ears, had it in my body. I swam in the coal ash ponds. I don't need anybody preaching to me about coal ash. I've lived in it. It does affect everybody different. I'm not here to argue with it, like I said. I'm here to help, just like you're here to help. So what we need to do is take action. I am opposed.
But you're the only one getting paid.
Hold on.
How much money you think I make, ma'am?
I don't care.
Well, I mean, obviously you think I'm wealthy.
You have a moral obligation to protect the children.
This is a crazy show. I'm leaving. I'm done.
Mr. Chairman, as I said, I'm not for closing the park down for the people in my district. We don't have a whole lot in my district. We have a park, we have a community center, and we have some ball fields. And by the way, the ball fields aren't locked to keep out people from the coal ash ball fields. They're locked and only used by the people that are using them for the community sports. The other issue we have sometimes is people like to go in there and do drugs and shoot up needles and stuff. So we like to take precautions and only allow the people that should be there. That's the only reason the ball fields are locked, and I wanted to address that. So if this body Monday decides, or today decides to shut down the park, I'll vote against it. I see no problems with the park. Things get dirty. I mean, I don't think it's any hazard to our community as it sits at this moment based on the information that I've seen. Thank you.
Thank you. And the whole purpose of this operations committee or any committee is to have discussion and get everything out in the open for county commission to vote to make a good decision. And so discussion that happens now, especially in public between now and Monday, can change a lot of things, just like Commissioner Wandel said. There's a lot of things that people never hear about, and they say, well, I never knew about that. And, but this is what this is about, and this is why it's aired on TV. But the first thing for Anderson County government, the mayor and the commissioners, is public safety. When we take our oath, that's what it's about. And that's what we're here tonight, and we're listening to everybody that's got anything to say, because that's what we do in committees. And just like Commissioner Wandel said, this is the United States, and we can do that. Commissioner McCamey.
Mr. Chairman, I have not got a call either as a commissioner to shut the park down. I think with the media coverage, with the newspaper and TV, that the people who utilize the park know that there was a possibility of coal ash there. And I think they can make the decision whether or not they want to take their kids there. I wouldn't have a problem taking mine there, my grandkids, but you know, it would be up to each individual, because I think they know that there's a possibility that there's trace fly ash. And if you know anything at all about Claxton, you know, they put the new scrubbers in because it used to get all over everybody's car and everything else, you know. And TVA has done a lot to eliminate that. And naturally, everything that washed off of those cars went into the soil there. So anywhere, and if you look at the diagram that Dr. Van Goss or whatever showed us, it's all around the steam plant. And so I think, you know, like I said, that everybody knows that. It's not only on the park. It's on the highway. You get it on your car. You know, it's in everybody's front lawn. So, you know, like I said, I think the majority of the people realize that, and if they choose to take their kids there, then, you know, that's up to them. But it's not like we're hiding something. It's out in the open, you know, everybody knows. So I'm, like Tracy, I'm not in favor of shutting it down. But, you know, to each his own. If you don't want to take your kids there, then don't, you know.
Anyone else? Mr. Waterman, did you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you.
State your name, please, and address.
Yeah, Todd Waterman from Marlow. I don't know if you should shut that park down or not. I can't quantify how dangerous that is. I can tell you this, there are 8.5 million people a year who die from air pollution from fossil fuels. Coal is the worst offender by far of all of the fossil fuels. Tracy, you have friends, I'm sure, who died because they lived close to Bull Run, of cancer, whatever. But if you get cancer, you don't know where you got it. It's a single mutation in a single cell. And it's very hard, unless it's mesothelioma or thyroid cancer, you can't pin it on anything. And you certainly couldn't pin it on TVA. But statistically, a plant like that killed hundreds or thousands of people since it was built. And it's not a real big plant. Kingston's a lot bigger. It killed a lot more. And some of those people, most of those people were pretty close to the plant. Some of them were probably in Boston or someplace, because those fine particulates, the PM 2.5 and smaller, never settle out of the air. I was very, very glad when they started building that scrubber, and I found out what it was. It took them a long time before I actually saw the steam coming out of it, but I was so happy to see that, because I love to jog, and I knew I was breathing that stuff. When I bought my house in South Knoxville, I asked the air quality guy in Knoxville if there were any areas I should stay away from. And he said, just don't get near either of the 3 coal plants. Bull Run is the only one of those 3 still left. And it's scrubbed now, which is a huge improvement. The only problem is that those toxins are now in the fly ash. And that fly ash, unlike the bottom ash, is extremely soluble. It's airborne very, very easily. Those particles are so fine that when they blow off that fly ash stack and through the playground, they'll go right into your lungs, right into your alveoli, and right into your bloodstream. And I don't know how, I can't quantify that risk. I know if I had a child, I wouldn't let them anywhere near that playground. Not because of the dirt, because of the dust blowing off that fly ash stack. And who was it that was just saying that there was black streaks coming off that playground the last time I looked. I've got video of them dumping there, and the grader, the bulldozer shoving it around, and you can just see the dust blowing all over the place. I mean, Jason, who was just speaking here a while ago, told us at the landfill hearing, the Anderson County landfill hearing a year or so ago. He said there's no way to keep the dust down. Now, he did propose putting it in the same kind of sacks they use for other hazardous waste, radioactive waste. And I think that would be a great idea, and I hope the hell they do that and they get it the hell out of our community. Because the longer it sits there, the more harm it's gonna do. Anyway, I appreciate y'all, and I really appreciate y'all paying attention to this. And yeah, I think it is a great idea if we really look into this and try to get some real quantitative, comparative idea of just how risky that is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waterman. And again, that's why we're having this discussion, because we see it as important. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Anyone else?
If I may just very briefly say, I apologize for the strong emotion. All I really wanted to tell you is that there is not a health standard for substance of cola. So I do apologize for getting emotional. I appreciate the work y'all are doing. I know every one of y'all, I've met, I think, and I know y'all care. So, I have no opinion on it, and I did get, because that's what I've been doing for the last, while. But I did not want anybody to think, and the mayor included, that I'm upset or having an opinion. But every time I talk about it, I tend to get emotional, because I've done it so long now, I've seen what it's done. But I appreciate that y'all are addressing it in the way that you all choose. This is up to the citizens of Anderson County, not Knoxville News Sentinel, not James Satterfield, and not anybody else. And I trust you. Okay?
Thank you.
If I could say one thing, I'm Sharon Todd, resident of the community, just a short statement. I've had people ask me, they said, well, if it wasn't safe, wouldn't they shut it down?
Just come on up so everybody can hear you. And just repeat your name again,
Yes.
Sharon.
Sharon Todd, member of Claxton. I've had people, generations of my family has gone there. They played sports, they played on the playground. And I told them about this, and they said, well, if it wasn't safe, wouldn't they shut it down? So they've put trust in this commission to do the right thing, to see if it is unsafe to take children there. Because it's closer, yeah, there's a park down at Melton Lake Drive, but this is right in their backyard. And so they have put trust in this community, in this commission, to do the right thing, to get it tested, to see if it's dangerous to have children there.
Okay.
So
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to share that.
That's what this resolution does. If we approve this tonight, that's what it does.
And please, if TDEC's taking 2 years to test for TVA, surely to goodness they won't take 2 years to test the playground.
No.
Maybe they can put that on the fast forward and the fast burner.
I bet you that everything that the mayor and this legislative body can do to expedite, we will. She
And if
will, we
TDEC
will.
can't do it, there are other people who can do it.
Right.
Okay, any final statements?
I have one question. If my equipment is off. If,
Go ahead and tell everybody at home who you are.
I'm Louise McCowan and I live in Eastwood. I have one question. Years ago, the Optimist Club came to us and to the county and said, we can't maintain the playground. We want you to do it for us. And we said, okay. And the ADA committee has made some improvements in the parking area and bringing in a large portlet for wheelchairs there. My question is, if there is coal ash on the slides or the playground, who is in charge of trying to clean that up? the parks. It's not the ADA committee, I assure you, but Lloyd has his hands full just dealing with all the renovations at the courthouse. But I just want to throw that out and wonder who is actually cleaning up that courthouse.
Okay. Thank you.
Question on the motion, Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
Ms. McCowan, the Parks Board is responsible for cleaning the park. They have Ben Taylor, and he has some folks there that work with him.
Okay, we've got a question on the motion by Commissioner McCamey, which means we go to straight vote.
We've not voted on the resolution yet.
We got one other person that wants to speak.
Yeah, we discussed the resolution and decided what it was supposed to be, but I don't think we actually voted.
No, not yet. Because
No, we've been
we're in
having discussion.
mode.
That's what we're discussing, the motion.
Yeah, we do.
They did have a motion
Yeah,
and a
we
second
got
to
a motion to
even,
approve.
to even start discussing. I think it was Commissioner Mead and,
I second it.
yeah.
Yeah, Commissioner Wandel seconded. Yeah.
Based upon the discussion we've had since the motion, I think we should add a 4 that says something like, data should include comparison with the latest science on what levels are considered hazardous for both short and long-term exposure, including inhalation, ingestion, and eye and skin exposure. I think we need to make sure that they know clearly in writing that that's part of what we're asking for. Because without it, we end up with a bunch of mumbo jumbo and, oh, trust us, there's nothing illegal. But you know what we found out through the years? We found out that exposures that we thought were perfectly fine were really dangerous on a whole bunch of things. And that could I think that's what's gonna happen now. I think there was a time when people really believed that the fly ash from coal plants was absolutely no problem. And I think it's becoming more and more evident that there are, at certain levels, that there are realistic hazards that need to be addressed. And so I would like to basically change my motion to have some wording to that extent added. That it should include comparison with the latest science on what levels are considered hazardous.
Commissioner Wandel.
For both short and long-term exposure, including inhalation, ingestion, and eye and skin exposure.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
And that's of the resolution. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is issues with parking on the right-of-way on Clinton Highway. So we do have in our zoning regs, so many feet back for local roads. If it's Clinton Highway, it's a state road, so if you want to do a motion for the mayor to pursue this, I will get on it, find out what the appropriate action will be, and we'll see what we can do.
Mr. Chairman, this arises from several complaints in the community going up Clinton Highway where, just some of the businesses have equipment or cars encroaching on the roadway itself. I will report, though, since the conversation started and some people put it on Facebook, the roadways seem to be a lot more clear, so I appreciate that from businesses and them taking extra effort. But I would like to get a process in place so when it happens again, because it usually does at some point, and it's no one's fault, it just kind of starts happening, I guess, but I'd like to have a process to where we get a call as a commissioner, we have a way to address it, maybe go through TDOT as you mentioned. So I'll make a motion to allow the mayor to contact TDOT to investigate the process to improve the right-of-ways on Clinton Highway in the future. I so move.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion second by Commissioner McCamey and Commissioner Mead.
Yeah, the question I have is I think it would be helpful to the state if we could give them least a short list of areas that have been a problem, instead of just saying the whole road. What are you gonna do about it? Do we have, I mean, you,
From Edgemore to Emory, it's the whole road.
it is in fact the whole road?
Yeah.
It's,
Okay,
he's telling you the truth. It's getting more and more.
Yeah.
More businesses, you know, this will be helpful, okay? So
I wouldn't
from
be-
the Knox
yeah.
County line
Yeah.
to Edgemore Road would be
the
sufficient.
Edgemore Road?
Yeah.
Okay. The, I expect that we're gonna find out that for the state routes, there are already laws about blocking places within so many feet of the right of way or something like that.
I guess the question is, how's it
But,
enforced?
Yeah, but how is it enforced, yeah?
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Do you want me to, I think the Isaiah House is actually, that was a budget committee, but do you want to address that before I?
No, the last thing on, above that was updates requested by commissioners. What about lighting for the Claxton intersection there at Edgemore and 25W? Have you heard any more from TDOT on
I
whether or
did
not we're going to be able to do it?
I did submit the request to, I cannot remember, I reached out to TDOT, got the name of who would need to incorporate into that plan for the full corridor, actually. I think we talked about initially the intersection, and then we thought it would be good to do the corridor. We discussed that on a meeting that we had where we were reviewing, that was traffic signalization we discussed on that meeting. But there is a written request that's sitting in front of TDOT to incorporate that into that plan for the widening.
And the Isaiah House was handled by Budget Committee, so nothing there.
Anything else from the mayor on updates? Okay.
I think Commissioner Wandel has some that,
It's okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go right ahead.
Just another update on the Pine Meadows bins. I know we were gonna get somebody to do some studies.
yes, sir, that contract was executed, purchase order issued, they're already working on it. We've already been invoiced for the first payment, we've processed that, so we should have something hopefully in the next couple of months. They got on it right away as soon as we got that executed. Eastwood Valley Convenience Center, I'm sure Commissioner McCamey has some updates, but just from my office, we submitted the permit rule. You have to submit a solid waste permit by rule notification that has every detail about the project that goes to the state of Tennessee. And then also, we submitted that, I know I signed it on July 16th, so I'm sure Jeff sent it that day. And then we also submitted the notice of intent for the general permit for stormwater discharge, and that is a permit that has to accompany our full design, our site design. So we've got both of those applications that have been sent into the state.
So-
And I don't know if you had anything else, Chairman, or Commissioner McCamey.
It's already been bid, right? Bid's supposed to be open around the 28th, 26th.
I believe that's correct.
26th or 28th
I forgot to
of
get
this
that
month.
information for you.
So
Great, so we're in process, the zoning stuff worked out, I guess?
that's going before the Planning Commission next month and coming back.
Thank you both, I appreciate it. I know the people in the district appreciate the idea of having the new convenience center and be a lot safer, and plus have recycling back. They're all
Yep.
happy about that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's exciting progress. The Raccoon Valley westbound school safety lights. So, there's approximately, it can be up to 2 years for funding. We can go ahead and do it now if we want, but the funding would be on us. So that is just completely up to commission how you would want me to proceed on that.
Mr. Chairman, the school safety light coming westbound on Raccoon Valley. And I'd like to thank this body and the mayor and Gary Long for putting the sign up, no lights still. That is incumbent on the school board to put the light in. It's not incumbent,
Okay.
it's not incumbent on us, it's a
Okay.
state law. We've talked about that 2 years ago. I was told that they're gonna wait until the project at the intersection was done, and I think the project's pretty much complete. So I'd like to see the lights get installed. So I'm gonna make a motion that we send to the Anderson County School Board that they install the school signal lights on Raccoon Valley Road heading west to Edgemore Road. That's my motion.
Okay. Second. Have a motion, second by Commissioner Mead. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to thank the mayor. I know she's trying to help, and I didn't mean to imply that this is on you. It's not your responsibility. It's the school system.
I would have pursued that, I just, I guess I did not remember, or I got confused, or I would have reached out to Dr. Parrott for that.
I was hoping somebody from the school would be here to tell us, but I appreciate you trying.
I'm sure he already knows.
Someone just sent him a text right now. The Veterans Bridge flag placement, and I did reach out to Clinton Utility Board. Our last remaining before we send in the application is with a flag. We are required to do lighting. So solar versus electric. Solar, you know, we've got long nights sometimes in the winter where it may not be adequately lit. So I reached out to CUB. Mr. Fay and the engineer got back with me on some potential plans of action. They told us what we would be allowed to do. I passed that information along to our design team, and they are incorporating here's what we plan to do, and then that will be the next step will be for me to apply.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to also say thanks to the mayor again. This project never moved. I was at one event with Commissioner McCamey complaining that hard to believe we can't put a U.S. flag up on Veterans Bridge. And he said, have you talked to the mayor? And I hadn't. So since she's been on board, we're going down the path of getting the flag on Veterans Bridge, and I'm excited about it. So thank
what
you.
it's
And I
about.
know the veterans are.
Yes, and we're going to have some a nice landscaping too. That'll be a great exit entrance into the county and into the city. So with a patriotic theme in the color design. So we're taking it next level. Team
Just seeing the
America.
flag's next level for me.
And then we've already addressed the safety concerns. So that's all I have.
What about the
On
Anderson
the,
County
Clinton High-
government holidays? Do you have, who's got that? The holidays
That
schedule?
Annette?
Okay. Do we need a motion to accept that? Okay, Commissioner Scott.
The schedule shows that there's 2 weekends. I've got to find, it's in my online packet. I believe it's July 4th is on a Monday, so they're suggesting that everyone gets July 4th and July 5th off. Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving in November. Christmas is falling on a Sunday, so it's being suggested that they get the 23rd off, which is a Friday, and the following Monday. That's 3 4-day weekends that we're giving out. All it would take is 9 days out of someone's pocket or PTO time, and they've got themselves 3 weeks off throughout the year. Therefore, I'm suggesting that the July 5th date be pushed back to Juneteenth to match it with the federal holiday in June. And that the 23rd of December be given to the employees as a floating holiday instead. I don't think it's fair to the public to have 3 solid 4-day weekends throughout the year because we just don't know what to do with the days. So that's my piece. Sure, I'll make it a motion. Thank you.
Got a motion second.
I have to point out, we didn't add any additional days. That's just the way the days ended up falling, right? There were no additional holidays. We just moved because we had these holidays happen on a weekend. We incorporated a Friday or a Monday. All right, so we didn't add any additional holidays. So what we're actually discussing is cutting the number of vacation days we've decided to have for our employees. That's what it
No,
sounds
I
like.
didn't say cut the number of days.
Moving them.
I suggested that we take July 5th, which is not a federal holiday or holiday for anyone else, and make that, push that back to June for the Juneteenth celebration. That is a federal holiday. I don't know of many courthouses in the surrounding area, let alone the state of Tennessee, that are offering 4-day weekends and putting a stump on the communities around them. Again, the 23rd of December should be given out as a floating day. So they're still getting the same number of days off. We're spreading them out to be a little more sensible with what we're doing with our calendars. If somebody wants to take 3 weeks' worth of vacation, fine, pull it out of your PTO. You're given time off, but I don't think it's fair to subject the community or the county.
Commissioner McCamey.
The 2 days we get for the 4th Independence Day, that was given in lieu of a raise.
Raise.
If you take that back from them, even though you move it to another day, it's sort of like saying, give us the money back, we're not gonna honor that. We gave them that extra day on the 4th because that's when a lot of people use that for vacation. The 4th of July weekend, a lot of people go out of town, and the employees agreed to that, and that's what they wanted, was the extra day
Yeah.
on the 4th. And we gave them that in lieu of a raise, and Juneteenth, I don't know, I mean, it's a one-day thing,
It's a one-day thing, it's a one-day federal holiday.
I understand that.
Just like
And
Memorial
I
Day
would-
is just a
I would be
one-day
very
thing,
much
and
in
Veterans Day is
favor-
a one-day thing.
I would be much in favor of adding that as one of the holidays for our employees. But not,
Yeah.
not take it away from them for the 4th
Yeah,
and
the
move
fourth,
it.
the 4th of July weekend, to me, is a much more important family and American holiday than this new Juneteenth, whatever they've come up with. And it's this commission's authority that determines how the holidays work. I don't think it needs to be dictated from somewhere else. I would not be in favor of changing the 4th of July weekend schedule.
Commissioner McCamey, did you get done with your discussion?
I just wanted to make that point, that.
Commissioner Wandel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner McCamey's right. We did extend the holidays for Independence Day back when we weren't given raises. And we have given raises, and we've done very well at that, and I'm proud that we have done that. I've had, I don't know about the rest of you, but I've had several complaints during July 4th where people want to come get their tags, come in, and the place is shut down, and they don't understand why. And I've explained to them that we gave those days extra for when we weren't given raises, but we obviously been given raises for some time now. So, I mean, the average in America for holidays is 10 days. We're at 13. Now we're suggesting 14. I'm not for 14 days. I have trouble with 13 days. But I do like Commissioner Scott's suggestion of moving July 5th to Juneteenth. Juneteenth this year is on June 19th. It's a Sunday. So they could either have the Friday off before or the Monday off.
That's where you marry it up with the others that are following the federal guidelines, and it would be Monday.
So I would be in support of that, but I'm not in favor of adding another day and making it a total of 14 days. I just think that's too much. But I'll vote against it because I've had people approach me and upset they can't get their tags the day after Independence Day. They don't
You're
understand.
voting against my request to modify it?
No, I'm for your request. I'm
Okay,
just,
then
to move the day, yes, to Juneteenth, yes, I'm for that.
And the floating holiday at Christmas.
Yeah, right, the 23rd of December, give that to them. They can
Yeah.
take it on their birthday, they can take it on the 23rd of December if they choose.
I see what you're saying.
You know, they can make it a 4-day, 5-day weekend. Sure, sure,
That's why we look at it every year, because
right.
creating 4-day weekends, 3 of them especially, is a little excessive in my opinion.
Any other discussion? Does everybody understand what the motion is? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Got 2 noes. Motion passes.
That means there was only 4 affirmative votes in a committee of 8. That's not passing.
Yes, it is. It's not a statutory committee, so it's a majority of the members present.
They voted no.
The budget committee is the only one that requires 5, because it's a statutory committee. Now, this committee can operate with.
budget, it'd be something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to go to a full commission anyway.
Yeah, it's still,
So,
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Somebody say something.
I said thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Next is new business.
Mr. Chairman, it's not new business, but I've been sitting here since 2006, and while she's here, I want to thank Louise McNown for all she does. She is a selfless, endless bound of energy that I'm amazed in all you do for our county, especially for ADA stuff. I thank you. I appreciate the letter you gave me for the Optimist Club building. We'll get on that as soon as we can. And I just want to say thank you.
I agree.
Let me say that, I did this because it is my passion, and I can't help but do it, and I'm very glad you let me do it. I would like to talk with you, Tracy, later.
I want to add something. When I first ran for commission in 2016 and knocked on Louisa's door, she fed me that night.
I understand she's a good cook.
No, my mother.
You're exactly right.
Give you a cookie. When the night you a meal.
Thank you, Louise. Mr. Yeager. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
All right, I've only been working on this for 3 days, but I have a little bit of information about the nonprofit funding that we've been doing. I've been on this commission 5 years. Seems like it's, the requests have been consistent. It's not an unusual item. So I have a little bit of information that I want to pass along. Tennessee Code 59109 from 2010 says the county legislative body may appropriate funds for the financial aid of any nonprofit charitable organization, which is fine. Part B, each county legislative body shall devise guidelines directing for what purposes the appropriated money may be spent. I haven't seen guidelines that we've followed over these 5 years. We've gotten presentations from organizations, and on that basis alone, we vote to either approve or deny funds. Another item in this says any nonprofit organization that desires financial assistance from the county legislative body shall file with the county clerk a copy of the annual report of its business affairs, and it goes on, and I have never seen that copy. and financial reports shall be available to fiscal officers in the county shall be subject to audit under provisions. Now, the second part of my handout is from 2010-2011 fiscal year, nonprofit funding policy. I don't know if this was created by the nonprofit committee or if this is in our rules full-time. But they did a lot more due diligence back in 2010 than we're doing in 2021. And I think this is something that we should really tighten up. There's no real due diligence being done, and I'd like to start bringing this to a more complete process. Now, I'm not going to do anything this month because we have the Laurel House already in process, and I don't have enough to go on to make any kind of motion anyway. But I'm going to be, now, Mr. Jeff Cole told me that the nonprofit committee was never abandoned. I don't know if that's true. I think it has been abandoned. So I'm not sure if these rules are still in effect or not. But I think we need to tighten up these. This application from 2010 is very comprehensive, and it would really help my understanding of the organization if I'm not familiar with it. You know, I didn't know Laurel House until they came and made a presentation. I don't know what the financials look like. It sounds like a good program. I know it's a good program, but it's just not enough information to give an informed decision. So I'm not going to make a motion this month, but I am going to next month suggest that we pause these donations until we get our process at least under the Tennessee Code, and I'd like to see it become more as complete as it was back in 2010. So this is just information for now. Next month, hopefully, I'll have a lot more.
I know at some point, you know, back the last few years in the Finance Committee, we have touched on it, but we haven't done anything. So maybe we could, Mr. Chairman, Finance Committee, we could.
It could be rules, it could be finance, I'm just not sure the direction. I'll have the mayor help me out there, I'll have Jay Yeager help me out there too, but I think it just needs to tighten up. Yeah, so that's.
I agree.
Commissioner McCamey.
I agree with Jeff Cole that the committee was never abolished. What happened is we didn't fund it one year, and then nobody ever came back and said, hey, you know, but we were facing the tax increase in 2012, and we decided not to fund it. Just like we were facing a tax increase last year, and we went to only half of what we had promised the fire departments. On the fire truck, we, started going 2 years and only funding half of what we had originally said we would do every year. And so there was no money, so there was no need for the committee to meet, but it never was abolished, and we could go back to that committee.
Yeah.
I do have a problem with advertising it and giving it all out at one time,
Sure, I agree with that too.
which is what we did.
Yeah.
Everybody filled out an application, and everybody, we set it at a minimum of $5,000 for everybody that come along, and I think the last year we only were allowed to give them 3,000.
Yeah, well, I agree with that too. I think that's one of the things that need to be a little more reasonable.
But maybe, we need to send that back to the nominating committee and come up with a nonprofit committee.
Yeah, so that's my goal, is to get these tightened up and something we can follow for sure.
Commissioner Wandel.
Go ahead, Commissioner McKee.
But I'll just say that I'm sitting here looking at the title and verse of the state law, and we're clearly not in compliance really with what the state law says, because there's very specific requirements for reporting on the account of anybody that's asking for assistance, and what it's supposed to entitle. And even though I think we haven't done anything where we didn't look into who we were gonna fund in some detail, But, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is we need to take action to ensure we're in compliance with the state law. And right now, I'd say it's questionable. No, it's not really questionable. I don't think we're really in compliance with state law.
And those are minimum standards. I'd like to
Yeah.
make sure that we have, the application from 2010-11 is more comprehensive than the law, and I like the way that was. So I'd like to pursue, kind of go back in time.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to be, September, nominating is going to be picking back up. We're going to be, filling new positions, new chairmans of all the committees. I think it'd be a good time to start that back up. So I wouldn't want to wait till next month before we start, because if that committee's going to reactivate, I'd like to see it happen September 1st like everybody else. So it might be good to call that meeting together and see how it goes and put the structure in place. Because we still have a committee, we just haven't met.
So we just need to send
We
it
didn't
home
appoint
and
members at the
fill
last,
that committee.
last September, but, the committee itself is still an established committee. We just don't have any members on it right now. We just need to appoint members to that committee.
Well, and it makes sense to have guidelines, that everyone has to follow. Like you said, we've got far too many people that step in front of the microphone and say, we just started this and we need some money. Or someone that comes in and says, well, we've been around forever and we need $10,000, thank you. So that would be great, to have real guidelines that they have to satisfy.
All right, so more to follow. This is just 3 days' worth of research.
Keep digging.
But we are going to go ahead and nominate, suggest that we fill that back up.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the nonprofit committee reform September and reconvene. I
Second.
make that motion.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Wandel, second by Commissioner Scott. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Commissioner Yeager.
I see a new chairman sitting over here.
Hey, the last thing on the agenda, and it's something I brought up, and this, again, I want to bring more discussion, maybe to operations next month, is in the north end of the county and all over the county, we have, and this is a twofold thing, is we have an abundance of theft going on. I've got a list of 19 different businesses in the north end of the county, including myself, that's had catalytic converters cut off, funeral homes, churches, nonprofits, car lots, you name it, they've all been done. And one of the big reasons why they're doing that is for drugs. And I've had 3 people on my property die, and they brought them back with Narcan. I'm just one little corner spot, but 3 people. One just 2 weeks ago, and been for Commissioner Val. Girl come to my shop, come in the back, and I was going to the Coal Miners Museum meeting, and I knew that she wasn't going to make it. Some guy put her out. So I called and I said, if you don't care, I've got to go into the meeting and send somebody. Well, they did. They found her up there. She was hid. Had a warrant on her. They put her in the car. He went to check the rest of the property. Somebody was with her. Come back, she's dead. Pulls her out, gives her Narcan, brings her back to life. Had a lady that run through the my fence. They got her out, started talking to her. She had kids in the car, had some other family members in the car. She passes. They Narcan her. Had another piece of property that's just right uptown. Lady called me, and she said, "There's a guy down here. He's dead." The police pull up, shoot him Narcan, brings him back to life. And the report that I've got is from EMS. This is not the sheriff's department, because they're gonna put theirs together, the police department and all that, and I think that was what they sent out. And it's got a list of how many, this is all just people who've been Narcaned in 90 days. Adams County EMS has administered Narcan 89 times. Like I say, this is not the sheriff's department or private people, whatever. During the May through July 2021 time period, attaches a breakdown of the city locations in Anderson County that these calls occurred. In addition, I have run the same report for 2020, 2019, and 2018 for comparison. You can see in that how much it's went up. As can be seen, there has been a significant increase in use of Narcan. It must be noted that some of these cases would not be considered street drug overdoses. We do encounter issues with some people accidentally overdose on prescribed medications. That being said, the amount this occurs is minimal. I would guess less than 5%. The largest increase are both Rocky Top and Oliver Springs, both seeing an increase of 5 times what they had in 2018. Next is Oak Ridge, who has doubled the numbers from 2018. As a whole, service-wide numbers have doubled. What must also be considered is the increased use of Narcan, both by law enforcement and the public. To see our numbers increase and to know others are given Narcan as well means the number of overdoses are much higher than just what our records indicate. The age span for 2021 is 20 to 76 years old and rather evenly distributed among that age span. This is not solely a young person issue. Deaths are not adequately tracked by EMS records. UT Forensic Center is best suited to report these for additional consideration. Nathan Sweet, Director, Anderson County EMS. So this will be something, that I want to continue next month. And what can we do? Is this where, and you hear about, the funding for our police departments or sheriff's departments? I think this is something that we really need to focus on because you get what you pay for. And again, public safety is our number one goal. So with that being said, to be continued. Thank you. Commissioner
Yeah,
Meeks.
something I want to put, in fact, I was going to bring this up with somebody anyhow. A couple of years ago, we all got trained on how to use those units. We all were issued one to carry with us in our cars. I
That
do
was
notice
with
that
ASAP.
Mine is several years expired. And so I would like to think that we would try to get more people that are carrying these with them, because although right now, if suddenly I was around someone that I was confident they had an overdose, and I have that Narcan, I also know that it's 2 years expired. I'm not sure what our liability is. I expect that one that's expired is much better than not getting one.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what the liability to us in the county would be if we used one that was more than 2 years expired from its date on the package.
And the other thing is the police departments, the sheriff's department, they carry one. But this fentanyl is what the big issue is, okay? Now, you can be exposed to that just by breathing it, because I think it was one of the news stations actually showed one of the police officers that pulled somebody over.
Yeah.
And just the fumes from the car, he was out. And if there wasn't somebody there, and here he is, he's out to protect and to serve,
Yeah.
at $12 an hour or whatever it is. And he loses his life because there's not somebody there to administer Narcan. It's real important. It's a great invention. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else come before this committee?
Motion adjourned.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute, we got somebody wanting to speak. Sure.
You sort of caught me by surprise when you moved on from the TVA discussion. That's my fault, not yours.
Just state your name, please.
I'm sorry, Bob Stevenson at 112 Orchard Crest Circle. It's a relief to know that the park is still below allowable limits. However, the limits are not some magical thing, so above them you have an effect and below them you have none all of a sudden. It's almost as bad, just a little bit under the limit, as it is a little bit over the limit. And I can imagine what has possessed anybody to spread a hazardous substance on a park, even though it doesn't result in a violation of the limit. So I'm aghast that TVA did this. And also, there are does TVA plan to clear the site when they leave the plant?
Yeah, we've been pushing that big and heavy, that place will be completely cleaned up before they are no longer responsible for it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else? Mr. Water?
If I can just add one thing to my comment. In North Carolina, there was a high school, I believe it was, that was built on top of a coal ash landfill. I'm not sure if it was bottom ash or fly ash. I expect it was fly ash. But they've had a whole bunch of cancers at that school among the kids, those kids. There was a teenage girl who got ocular cancer, which is vanishingly rare. And when she found out that one of her girlfriend had ocular cancer too, they got to wondering. So if those ball fields are built on top of fly ash, then anybody that plays on those is in trouble. And I don't think anybody should be playing over there. Thanks.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.